In this episode, I'm going to be talking about money, salaries, and how money and creativity sometimes can clash and how you should be tackling it as an animator. So, welcome. This is episode 34. Let's get started. So once again, I want to welcome everyone that joined the channel over the past few days. It's been a lot of followers. I thank you deeply for all the following. And for all new subscribers, my name is Harvey Newman. I'm a professional animator and I love to share my passion for animation here in this channel with all of you. So we are going to be talking about money, salaries, how it all blends with animation, and it's a little bit of a taboo subject. So I'm not going to go into numbers specifically, but I'm going to tell you about my experience personally and how it has evolved through the years. So the first type of companies that I found early on in my career were always the ones that actually didn't want to pay you enough and wanted to get the most work out of you. This is very normal when you start as a junior animator, but just so you are aware, that when you first start, make sure that it's like a two-way conversation. That is not only the company that needs to be happy with you and your work because you're talented, but also the other way around. Because that is the most important thing in the beginning. You should definitely be in the frame of mind of like, I just want to get in and start working somewhere, somehow, so I can get my foot on the door. The worries about money can come later. Now, another type of company that I found throughout my years is the companies that you should just stay in the company because you love the company and the work that you're doing much more than the money that they give you. Now, it's only a problem if the company doesn't pay you enough. So I had that problem previously and I was genuinely happy in the company, but the problem is that where the company was situated and the way I was living at the time, where I was living, was very expensive. I basically approached them to say like, look, can we please do something about the money? But the company was genuinely very much like, look, this is how much we pay, and like we pay you because you need to actually want to work here. If you're not happy, then too bad. And obviously I have to move and I have to find another job, and that's okay. If you find a company that thinks that way, it's a good way of thinking, but they also have to pay you good enough money so you don't have to think about money. And I think from the experience that I had that working in a company that pays you a salary that is good enough, but it also gives you shares or a share of the money that the game that you worked on makes, I think, to me at least, is the happy medium. Because if you're happy with your salary already, it means that you're no longer thinking about the salary, you're thinking about how much can I work for this company and how can I make the most out of my job. But ultimately you have a goal in mind. So you work hard for that goal, and eventually, if your project does well, then it all comes together because you're not only happy with the work that you made, but you're also happy with the money that you're getting as a reward for the work that you made. So that is companies. Now let's talk a little bit about the importance of money throughout your career as you level up as an animator. When you first start, as a junior animator, an intern perhaps, money is definitely not an issue. You start, you're actually just happy that you finally made it to the industry that you wanted. And what a lot of companies will tell you is that when you become a mid-level animator, a senior animator, that's when your salary bump will go up and then you'll be better. And at that mid-level animator, that's when money sometimes starts to become a little bit of an issue. Because if a company going from junior to mid-level animator doesn't give you a salary bump, it starts to feel unfair that now you're actually earning the same salary as when you first started, but you're doing more work. And that's definitely my personal experience. That idea that you're living your dream, that idea that you're still in the industry that you love, is so powerful that sometimes can be like, well, I'll just wait and see what happens. Now, I highly advise that if you are in this situation, for you to at least have a talk with your lead, with your manager, because it's something that should be brought up. And I kind of wish that I had brought it up before instead of just like assume that things will just sort themselves out. Because as soon as I did, it kind of threw a red flag and people started thinking about the salary. And within 6 months after that, I actually got a salary bump And I was a little bit happier with that. So make sure you do that. After you are a mid-level animator, if you actually get paid enough or just under, you definitely think that by the time you make a senior, then everything is going to be fine. So you think for sure the money will be there. But that is also not true. And I went through the same situation. I was hired as a mid-level animator and I signed the contract, everything was fine. But part of the agreement that we had, and this was a verbal agreement, was that basically after 6 months, I was going to become a senior animator. So I should have gotten that in writing and I didn't, because what happened after 6 months is they said, we are too busy and right now we cannot make you a senior animator. So let's wait another 6 months and see how it goes. So I waited another 6 months and guess what happened? Nothing happened. So a year went past, a year and a half went past. Finally, after 2 years, they finally made me a senior animator. So they gave me the title and they basically said, here's the title that you wanted, but no money. We'll give you more money in 6 months. So that's when it became a problem. Like it became a real problem and I became super stressed about it. And that's when I realized that unless you get paid enough money, you cannot think about anything else but money. To me, genuinely, till this day, the only thing I want to do is create, be creative, express myself the best I can. But when you're not getting enough money and they're still asking you to perform and to do an excellent job every single day when you get to work, it's very difficult for you to find the courage, for you to find the energy to do it when you think that they're actually taking advantage of you. There's a thing in the industry, you don't want to appear as a person that is always looking for money. It's a little too harsh sometimes on people because a lot of people spend years and years and years on not getting paid a fair wage because they don't want to speak up. That's when I went to my lead because I felt like it was unfair. So I told them like they're going to give me the title, but they're not going to give me a pay rise. I think that is super unfair. I think both things should come together, especially given how much time I've been waiting. I finally decided that it was time to change. And I finally found a job somewhere else. And this new job finally paid me what I thought I was worth. So all of this to say this, whenever you start, don't really think about money because you're just a junior animator. If you get an internship, if you get a junior role, take it because you have to start somewhere. So don't actually start with that greedy mindset of like, I just want to get money because I know there's money, because otherwise I don't think you're going to get anywhere. People will see that from a mile away. After you start and you get from junior to mid-level animator, start thinking about the money and don't be afraid to speak up if you think your salary is actually below of what you need to get. Now, when you get to senior animator, now you have to start really having a chat with your best mates about how much money people are getting really and how much money should you be getting. Are you happy in the company? Are you not happy in the company? Do you feel heard? Are you being creative? All of those things are things that influence your decision. Because as a senior, you don't move companies as much because you want stability in your life. So when you find a company that you're happy with, you have a tendency to stay. But that doesn't really mean that a company can underpay you for your work. So make sure you do those steps as you go through your career because it gets complicated and no one likes to talk about money. I don't like to talk about money. I hate it. I hate to negotiate my contracts every single time. But it is a necessary evil that you need to do in order for you to not think about the money that you're making when you're creating. For you to just be at peace, you know you're getting enough, and then you can go to work, be at peace, be creative, be yourself. As a creative person, and if you're watching this video, most likely you are, you want to create and be left alone. This is your passion, you do it for free, but you need to actually put that money equation on top. And the faster you get your head around it, the faster you know how much you're worth, the more creative you're going to be. It's a very weird synergy, but it's true. Like you're finally getting recognition for your job, but not only people telling you that you're good, but also you getting paid the right amount for your work. This doesn't mean that the more money you get, the more happy you're going to be or the more creative you're going to be. There is a point, I feel, there is a point that the money can be distracting from the creative and you can become just money greed and you just think about how much money can I get from my services. And I think that actually takes away from creativity because now you're actually thinking about who can give you the most money without thinking about which kind of people do you want to work with, which kind of company do you want to work with, which kind of work do you want to do personally that will make you happy. My happiness lies on the creative side, not on the money side. So the more I can be creative, the happier I am. I'll deal with this for a little bit and then I'll go here and continue to be creative. So that's what I found in my journey. It's actually personal to you. What do you want to achieve? Which kind of people do you want to work with? Some companies have people that is just do. Some other companies are much more friendly and much more like being at university, hanging out with your friends. And the second case is much more applicable to me. That's how I work best. That's how I create the most, when I feel like I'm surrounded by people that are as friendly and as creative as I am, and we can come together and brainstorm, and I respect them and they respect me, and we can actually kind of output the best work we can. That's basically the best companies that I've been in, and that's where I create the most. Make sure, no matter where you go, to put your creative goals first and money second. Now, lastly, I would like to talk about the work-life balance, because that is yet another part of the equation. Because if you are in a company that you always wanted to work on and they're paying you big bucks to do your work and you feel incredibly creative because you're working with people that you love, now what happens after work and how much work are you really doing? Because if you're constantly crunching, if you're constantly staying up until late, if you're constantly working weekends in order to finish a project, and then you finish a project and then you go straight into another one, if that's your experience, then that is not good either. Because as soon as 6 months, a year goes past, you will get burned out, and then eventually you will not be happy. And all of those dreams that you had of being the perfect company with the perfect money, with the perfect people, will kind of like feel like nothing. Make sure that your work-life balance is so good that you never lose sight of how lucky you are to be working in this place with these people, earning this money. As an artist, money is incredibly difficult to talk about. I find it difficult to talk about, especially in the beginning. Like, I felt genuinely taken advantage of right at the beginning when I started. Looking back, I can see it now as a professional, but at the time I didn't. It's because I was so enamored with that idea of like, wow, I'm just gonna start animating. Boom, I made it. And because of that, I felt that I could work for free. So if they can pay me anything, then great, and you start. And unfortunately, the first company that I was in was not so nice. Even when I got in, people told me, watch out, make sure you get your money right. And I was like, I don't care about that stuff. And unfortunately, they were right. And yeah, after that, I kind of had to actually kind of become savvy with the money, become savvy with knowing how much I'm worth, and making sure that I am in a place that I'm happy, making sure that I'm creating, and making sure that I never lose happiness. I think happiness is the key word here, because unless you are happy, you cannot fully create and be creative in your job. So keep that in mind. I hope this is useful to you guys, because I wish someone had told me all of this way back in the day when I started. I think I would have dealt with the situations a little bit better. And that's all I had for you guys. And until next week, I hope you guys have a great rest of the week. Stay well, stay safe. Peace. You still around? Great. In that case, click here to watch more episodes, or click here in order to subscribe to my channel. I thank you deeply, I appreciate it, and I hope to see you next week when I drop more videos here in this channel. See you then.